Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm CamChristo and this is the new Estates UI in Mayo and Taxes 3.0, the upcoming update to the best mod to the best game in history. And oh my lord, is this a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. We're here playing as the Romans, and I thought I would just show you this since I am now allowed to show it to you. This is obviously a work in progress. It's unfinished. More stuff will be added, stuff will be fixed, etc., etc. Don't let this form your opinion just because the escape button is, a little bit misaligned. I'm sure all of these things and more can be fixed and improved, but I had to show it to you in its current state because it's so good, and it connects really nicely to what I was saying about the Victoria 3 UI that we saw the other day that I did the video on disliking because it's all kind of text-based. This UI is simultaneously visually beautiful, very, very informative, and very difficult to know what the heck is going on. And I actually think all three of these are good things. And you can see why I would say that in a weird tone of voice, because the third really doesn't sound like it. But I think it is. So there's a lot going on here. You don't know it yet, but you can currently see all of the privileges, once it's all working, all of the privileges that all of the estates have. Well, not quite, because this is actually a scroll bar. But you can see a lot of the privileges that the estates currently have. You can see what rights they currently have. And you can see what reforms exist in your nation. You can also change them all from this screen. It's so cool. So if you're not familiar with privileges, they're something that already exists in Mayo and Taxes 2.5, but they're kind of things that, they're privileges, essentially. They're things that you grant the right to your estates. So for example, right now we have common justice. No, that's actually not a good example because they don't have that right. We have a pompous court. They have the right to a pompous court. The innumerable titles that together comprise the realm's court are so extensive that their existence is often discovered after the fact, leaving many powerful individuals with a list of pompous and excessive titles. So that has certain effects. It makes the aristocrats more influential. It makes the aristocrats like the state because the state's giving them all these titles and all that good stuff. It does also increase your yearly corruption and it increases your prestige decay. And then from this screen, you can click this button, fire this event, and you can change the laws. You can change their rights and reforms. We can say, no, we'll let them do even more. The court and its titles are so utterly ridiculous in scope and application that the court has itself lost meaning, empowering the nobility without any real reputation, often leaving the presence of a title as a joke within itself. You're basically just fully handing over control to them. Or you can change it to a ceremonial court. So you have more influence. The state obtains more influence. And you can see the impacts that doing each of those will have in these tooltips, which are actually slightly off screen because I'm having to zoom in to show you this beautiful, beautiful UI. And this changes the relations between the courts and the estates and all that kind of thing. There's clearly far too much here for me to go into exactly how all of it works. I don't know how all of it works. And that's kind of the point that I want to make. There's lots of information here and lots the player can do, and it will take time to learn to do this. And not everybody is going to want to put in all the time to learn to do this, and those people might not enjoy playing Mayo and Taxes 3.0 as much. But for those that choose to commit, to learn and put in effort and invest in learning this mod, once you understand this screen, you can see that it's going to be so useful. You'll be able to see what's going on and you'll be able to see how you can change it. And this to me is the epitome of the opposite of the Victoria 3, the CK3 suggestions menu. By the way, if you didn't believe me that it was almost certainly the suggestions menu, the devs did confirm that in the Q&A. So, haha, Christo's guess is right again. So I think something else that's worth mentioning about the estates interface, and I'm not going to go into exactly how it works right now because I don't know. We'll figure that out on the stream. I'll probably do a tutorial on it once it finally releases, all that good stuff. But something else I wanted to mention about it is that this interface, to me, tells the story really well of how one common thing that I hear people saying, which is things like the Mayo and Taxes team should just make EU5, or why don't the developers just do what the modders do, because the modders do all these really cool things. Why can't the developers just do that? And this is a understandable thing to think, but it's fundamentally wrong, and it misses something that I think can be explained basically just by looking at this UI. This UI would not fly in a mainstream... That rhymed a bit. I didn't mean that to rhyme. Or half rhyme, whatever. This UI would not fly in a mainstream title. It's too complicated. It's simply too complicated and too hard to see what's going on. And part of that is, of course, constraints on the modders, because they've done this incredible bit of work having to manipulate and twist the code so it will work to display what they wanted to display and all that kind of stuff. So it could be less complicated if they had full access to the code base, all that good stuff. But fundamentally, I think this would not be an acceptable degree of complexity in a mainstream title. And that's fine. That's no criticism of the Mayo and Taxes team. As I've just said, I think this is an incredibly good UI. It's incredibly good. I think it's going to be even better, obviously, once they finish tweaking everything. Right now, I believe only the nobles' privileges are showing up, or it might just be that the clergy, burghers, and tribes have no privileges. It makes sense for the tribes, but I'm confused as to why the clergy wouldn't have any privileges. They do have some rights, so I suspect it's all just because it's, you know, ongoing. But even when it's all finished, this amazing UI that I cannot praise enough would not work in vanilla EU4. The degree of complexity being displayed here wouldn't work for the average consumer. And that's not me being elitist. That's just the average consumer not wanting to put, and fairly so, not wanting to put in the kind of effort to get to know what do all of these buttons do. Where do I click if I want to see my current stability? It's there, by the way, and you have to fire the event. And then you get this really cool tooltip that's so explanatory and shows exactly what proportions of the land the state owns versus other groups and what we're paying in wages. It's so good. It's so cool. But it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work for the main line consumer. So remember, when you say things like the M&T team should make EU5, that you're basically not making sense. It wouldn't work. Things like this are wonderful and complicated, and for those of them that enjoy them, it's amazing, and the M&T team are doing incredible work. But it's not as simple as just make the base game like Mayo and Taxes. Mayo and Taxes is a beautiful, flawed masterpiece, and many of those flaws make it incompatible with the base game. Fortunately, we don't need the Mayo and Taxes team to make EU5. We have Mayo and Taxes. So we get the best of both worlds. And the mainline consumer with their less detailed tastes can also get what they want. So I tacked on a ramble to a video which is all about the beautiful new UI that the Mayo and Taxes team have added. Hopefully you can excuse me this indulgence. I hope you enjoyed looking at this. If you want to see me dive into how the UI works and figure it out for myself and try and explain it as best I can, follow me on Twitch. Link is in the description of the video. I'll be doing tons of more streaming of both Mayo and Taxes 2.5 and 3.0, digging into all of these features, trying to figure out what's going on. I am incredibly lucky, blessed as the clergy might say, privileged as the nobility might say, to have a direct line to the Mayo and Taxes developers, so I can ask them questions and have them explain things to me, and then I can try and package that into videos to explain it to you guys. It's a symbiotic relationship that I very much enjoy. Anyway, that's long enough looking at this beautiful UI. I'm going to go back to trying to figure out what the heck a bunch of these buttons do. I'm not sure why I can't look at the burger privileges. I'm trying to figure out if it's just because they're not in yet. But anyway, I'm going to get back to that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.